MediaTech Ventures Community Spotlight brought to you by Insperity, powerful HR solutions with exceptional follow-through. HR that makes a difference. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Community Spotlight. I am here with the one and only and badass media maven, Amber Allen, CEO and founder of AA Labs. How are you today?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. So we have a lot to unpack in a very short amount of time, so I want to hop right into it. What inspired you to pursue a degree and kind of this career path towards marketing and advertising?
I've been very fortunate in my career to get to work at companies like Disney and work on the technology side. Same with Warner Brothers. I had Netflix as a client when they were going digital. And then right before I started my business, getting to work on eSports and being a strategist that helped build out some of that eSports, the arena style events. So because of that, I definitely have, and I'm a nerd at heart, so I definitely have loved the merging of marketing, proof that something works, and technology.
And your video gaming career actually started at a young age, apparently to help entertain your siblings while your parents, father being a preacher, mother being an accountant, were hardworking. I'm also a huge fan of Mario Brothers and Galaga, to the earlier gaming experiences for myself as well. How did those games change you?
I love it. It's funny, even in my own house, I have a thing that says your princess is in another castle from Mario Brothers.
That's awesome.
But, a big piece of it, my dad was also an entrepreneur, and the way that we didn't always have a lot of time together, but we would go to Pizza Hut and play Galaga and the different video arcade games. And I think I just learned the biggest piece was the connecting. It was being able to, as a gamer, getting to interact and to connect on a different fun level. And so I think doing that with my siblings and doing that with my dad definitely built that into the kind of the culture of just who I am as a person.
And based on your career path, obviously you mentioned some of those roles, right? But I think you knew what you wanted and where you were heading day one as you walked into Disney, right? And then after that, Warner Brothers, eventually Riot Games were you hoping those would be your permanent homes, or did you always know that it was kind of a stepping stone towards AA?
Yeah, what's interesting is I was a corporate kid. I love the stability of that. I loved my Warner family and in my Disney one. I learned some really valuable lessons that I have definitely put into the culture of AA. What I feel is I always laugh because there's no way that I knew that this was what I was going to do. That seems to change as a CEO, being able to pivot, to be able to kind of change and adapt and accelerate a company in your career, right? So I don't know that what I did know, John, is that I love connecting and helping as a small town girl get information sooner than 10 years, when it's just about how long it took before it came out to Longview.
Right.
So I think that is a big thing that to your question, I have definitely been a part of who I am, of how do you spread knowledge and information to a larger audience. You can't change the world's opinion with only 500 people.
No, you can't. Where there's usually a church and then a post office and then a bar, right? Like kind of like when I would tour with my band, we knew we were in a small town when the post office was across the street from the church, and then there was a bar somewhere within walking distance of that. Do you credit your time spent as a teenager, spending weekends serving food, visiting nursing homes, in there, as well as reading biblical stories even? Is this how you generously give now back with mentorship? Is that a big part of who you are because of where you came from?
Yeah, I think my parents did a great job in that area of not only always keeping us busy, we were always doing some kind of learning and coaching, but making sure that we understood it was that we are here for a much bigger purpose, not just for ourselves. And that is definitely something you see even in my culture deck in the company. We are always doing something that is helping. And I don't believe in helping in a small way. We should be using the same principles that we do for esports and gaming. We should be doing that as well for the charities. And how are we making a big impact?
Mm-hmm. And I did I noticed that you're starting to this whole idea of the Phygital world. Which I love that, by the way. And in the application of immersive experiences is it goes beyond just gaming, right? So I love some of the stuff you're starting to do in the biotech space in particular. Where do you really see these immersive experiences helping in the way that you just mentioned, either from a charitable side or on the healthcare side?
Yeah, John, it's interesting with the digital world. The reason it's called that, by the way, people ask, it's physical and digital collided. Yes, we trademarked it.
Yeah, yes, you did. And you know what? I should have. I always, I'm surprised that people don't realize that. It's like Phygital. Like, think it's a brand new word. It's like, no, it's two words. And anyway, continue.
Yeah,
Sorry.
but I think that the reason we did that is I believe that both are super important. And honestly, we've already seen it work with
Hmm.
eSports. We have the live events and we have the digital, and the audience is watching as different athletes perform and play, and then they also are learning how to play themselves. But they also want to be in the room, and so this is a great way to see what is going on in the room, right? So think of the platform as exactly that. It is not one-off worlds. It is worlds that is created as an ecosystem. You as a person are not just one dimensional, right? You have multiple things. I mean, I'm a big gamer between Steve behind me in the music, and I love my Prada and Burberry. And I love learning about cognitive learning. Like, I'm multidimensional, and I think right now, if you watch Social Dilemma, they very much are trying to put us in buckets, which is
Right.
creating bigger divides and lesser education.
That's right.
And what our platform actually does is it builds worlds on top and they port to each other. So if you are over here watching the awesome Dell University world that we're doing, you can actually port to the music world. You
Right.
can port to AA Labs that has 6 other or 8 other worlds right now, and someday there'll be thousands on there. So you actually get to have the choice to choose which worlds you want to go and then go explore. And how it works is, think of it Fortnite, but a website. So no gaming engine, no special computer. You can actually do it through WebGL. So this platform is an equalizer. It is something that can educate in a visual way. I read somewhere we learn 60% faster when we visually see it.
That's very true. And as long as I get a llama in your Phygital world, I think I'll be okay.
They
Uh,
can make the achievement award. You got to unlock that one. I'll make it just for you.
that's perfect. Gamify it. I actually, yeah, the whole idea of gamifying networking in the Phygital world is something I'm enamored by as well. I'd love to talk more about that, but at a different time. Obviously, a lot more to unpack now. Who are the people currently in the immersive technology space that really inspire you, that you either read up on or you follow, or podcasts that you listen to?
Hey, I like doing in multiple different areas, right? One of my favorite podcasts is Business Wars.
Hmm.
I religiously listen to that one, just because I love seeing how companies build things and how other companies seem to get complacent. And that's when the real competition begins.
That's right.
And so I find that very fascinating. Um, and I also find that I read a lot up on, like, I like Elon Musk. I find him interesting. I think he thinks differently in many different areas. And I think it's important. We shouldn't just be in one bubble that we're learning. And another mentor of mine is Ron Bloom. He's done some really great stuff in the media space and understanding what our code of ethics is, and how, as we build these things, we are looking forward and looking at these digital platforms that we're creating. It is up to us to build the foundation correctly, and so that it doesn't become something we wouldn't want our name tied to.
That's actually a really good point. And we know that there's a lot of toxicity in the gaming world. Especially in not just the esports culture, but just online gaming in general. What's some advice that you would give to people on how to kind of mitigate that experience, or make it a more a better environment for all the players involved?
Yeah, it's interesting in gaming because I personally would just block people if I ever get that, so they just
Hmm.
don't play in my bubbles. But I know that I am a gamer that likes to play with my friends. So the audience that I play with is people that I are in my worlds. If I'm playing a MOBA or a battle royale, and 100 people playing, I've got my tribes that I play with. And if we get connected to other people that are like skilled, I think it's just one of the big things. I just don't put up with it personally. I'll just block, or I'll be like, hey,
Done.
not cool, man. One chance. And so I just direct it on myself in the areas that I play in.
What are the games actually? I know Galaga is your all-time favorite. Mario Brothers growing up, right? So what games are you playing now in your spare time? Whenever that is, by the way.
Yeah. I'm really enjoying Rogue. We actually helped bring that one to market for high res, and I mean, come on, it's literally got my passion. It's like a first-person shooter that is a fashion world character. So I'm having fun with that one. I love like Overcooked. I play that one with friends and Raymond's Legends. I mean, they're like classic too, like 5 years old instead of maybe 10.
Yeah.
But I'm a big into like playing games that are, I'm so if I'm playing with friends, it better be a game we're working together on.
Oh my God, I love it.
Friendships.
That's awesome. Yeah, right. That's right. I love Amber, but I can never play video games with her ever again. We just go out to eat now every once
We
in a while.
lost that friendship on that zone.
Yeah. Well, you should have had my 6, right? It's not.
There you go. I know. No, it's funny because I played Red Dead Redemption, beautiful game. I'm really looking for Cyberpunk. Like I know that team
Yeah.
and worked with them for Witcher 3, and what they did over there was just beautiful. And so I'm really excited to see what Jeremiah and his team are doing when that comes out.
Yeah, I loved the big Keanu Reeves reveal when they did that. So that's so exciting.
Yeah.
I do have the John Wick skin in Fortnite. I play my 6-year-old son loves Fortnite, so.
Oh yeah, no, I played that with my cousins and my little nephews. I mean, yeah.
That's awesome. What's some advice that you would give somebody, especially today, right? Where there's a lot more out there now, a lot more companies, a lot more competition. Somebody that wanted to pursue a career path similar to yours.
I would have to say it's fascinating. I'm going to tie it into kind of what you asked me in the very beginning. Did you know that this is exactly where you were heading? And if I had done that, I am too much of a perfectionist, John. It would have been like, it has to happen like this and this, and I would get very discouraged. I think the best advice I can give in that area is to be flexible. I really always felt that I had a mission. Like I always say personally, for my business and for me, I fall in love with the problem, not the solutions. And if you do that, you're really kind of focusing on where your core is, and the solutions will change. Therefore, I take it as a career as well. If I know that I want to be in a certain media space or gaming space, or even if and I've done it, being the janitor at a certain company or an assistant or whatever, and knowing that that gets me in that world, in that environment, I really feel strongly that it's being in the environment that I want, showing people. And if it's a smart company, they'll see the talent they have. And if it's not, it's probably not one I'd want to grow my career in anyways.
That's very true. When people think about AA Labs, what are you hoping comes to mind for them?
I feel very strongly about immersive technology. A lot of times people say, well, what would your elevator speech for AA Labs? And I always say, and especially now, physical and virtual are colliding when we stand in the intersection. And I think that's the exact thing. There's this beautiful world of technology, augmented reality, coding, but it's still a language we're all learning. And then there's this beautiful storytelling and art and music that has its own love as well, right? And that's why I'm a massive fan of STEAM. We need both. If both of them are not connecting and creating a world, you become a perfect story on that. My business card is an augmented reality app. You hold it, and I'm Princess Leia. It's me. And my hair isn't in buns, but I am a volumetric sculptor. And it has little bubbles that float around, and you push the bubbles, and it tells what we do, which some of the technology is advanced, and it shows it in a visual way, simplifies it. John, do you know what it was like 2 years ago? It was a spider, man.
The spider, yeah. No, I actually remember you showed me that. I think either at an event or when we had lunch, and I read that it was ambitious and funny for your team, but also that it actually kind of deterred people from finding out more about the company.
And it's hilarious though, because the physics and the engineering behind how the animation came up and it would go off the card and everything was really amazing. But from the storytelling perspective, Darwin, nobody wants spiders climbing all over them, right? And it told me nothing about my business. Am I an exterminating company? So it's a perfect example of why we need both creative and that right and left brain. So yeah.
And so on that topic of figuring out what works and what doesn't work, thinking about the entertainment industry now, right? Obviously in shambles because of what's happening with the pandemic. And you're starting to see more of these experiences. Obviously, our friends at Wave are doing a really great job on the West Coast. You're seeing Fortnite. You're seeing a lot of more of these like immersive experiences with artists. Where do you see entertainment after the pandemic? And do you think that the show space and the venue space are going to go back to normal, or is there going to be this kind of split now between digital experiences and in-life experiences?
Yeah, so I think there's a couple questions there. I believe that those that grow and take this time to actually, but the world is, I mean, remember QR codes? Nobody was using that. And now we all
Yeah.
for restaurants and everything.
Yeah, now they're on every menu.
And I love it. I think
Me
it's
too.
fantastic.
Yeah.
And it's built in our camera phones. Well, it's been that way for about a couple of years, but now everybody knows it, right? And that adapting of technology is accelerating. I do believe that the physical world will open back up. I do believe it'll be smaller events first, and then it will go back to the large. There's something human about us that likes to be with people and connect. I think people are always thinking if this or this. And I have found with my years of 8.5 years, 9 years of eSports and this company, of the worlds collide. That's why we called it Phygital. You know, we worked on Twitch Play Live, and we saw that if we created a digital experience and a physical experience, the worlds could play together. 3.7 million people clicked on buttons to change what happened in the physical space. Why? Because not everybody can be in the room, but they can be a part of the room. They can be a part of the experience. And we are going to be a much better society. Seriously, if we can actually help people be in the room and educate and share knowledge and share experiences, that only makes us better because we understand it more, right? So why wouldn't we want to, look, we're in the virtual worlds now. These are, even the ones that we're doing are really, really great, and the technology is there, so you can still interact. But there will come a time, and that's why we called ours Phygital World, where the live events will happen and the digital one lets you be there and still experience parts of it. And I think that is the biggest thing that I hope, and we've seen it already happen in the gaming space, that I want to keep, building toward and accelerating for people.
I love that, and it brings up the I read an article a while back in the Minecraft where they built the library, right, with all these countries that with all of these published books and stuff that were banned, right, in their countries, and it's like a really cool space built by like dozens and dozens of contributors all over the world.
Because one person doesn't have all the knowledge, do they?
That's
Not
true.
one person, no matter how smart, has the knowledge of everything. We are always going to be smarter as a team and collaborating.
So speaking of being smarter, if you could go back and build it all again from day one when you had the idea of pursuing AA, what would you have done differently?
Well, I mean, I'm a huge fan, and we even have this in our company culture of, I'm a huge fan of learning from our failures and learning from those and not holding it internally, but sharing it. If we cannot learn from our failures, we're due to repeat them, right? And so I think one of the things is I have learned over the last few years is continually surround myself with mentors so I don't have to keep redoing the wheel. There have been too many times in the first part of the years of my company where I'd be like, oh, I've got this. This is a brand new idea. I'm going to create this. And I didn't lean more because I don't have investors. I don't have a board. I don't have a partner. So when I started this company, it was me. And it's, again, I go back to we're smarter as collaborating. And so I think that's one of the biggest things that from day one, I advise people is get a good, smart mentor, friend, board around you as mentors that you can lean on. Don't waste their time, but ask questions and have people that you can learn from, so you're not having to always recreate the wheel.
That's very sound advice. I would surround myself with people much smarter than me. What are some books that really inspired you? Or, I'm more of an audiobook person myself. I have a hard time reading. But are there books that really stand out to you so far along your career in your path that?
Yeah. And John, it's interesting. I would have to say it almost changes on monthly. There are a few books though that I will actually reread. I get to a point sometimes where I gave myself the permission to read 40 to 50% of the book and go, all right, I got it. Felt like your parents make you eat all the food after a while. Sometimes portions of this, and I got it.
I know broccoli's important, Ma, but get it away from me.
And giving myself that approval actually let me get more nuggets of knowledge that I felt really helped. I love the book Essentialism. I think we live in a society, and I am definitely that early adopter that has a little bit of that FOMO. And so being able to learn how to say no and that's what it talks about, is just as important, and even more so than yes. And there's a book, Synchronicity, I just finished. I've really enjoyed Brain Rules, the 25 Brain Rules. I think is great. And then I love like the 5 Temptations of a CEO and the 5 Dysfunctions of an Executive Team. They're easy reads, but they've got a lot of really good nuggets in it. So I could keep going, don't you?
Oh, those were brilliant examples. Yeah, well, those cornerstones, right? Yeah, I mean, like it's imperative to keep up to date and continue reading. But I think everybody goes back to, the select few that really did it for them, and they got their Cliff Notes on top of Cliff Notes 4. So that was, I appreciate that.
I mean, I'm reading the Undoing Project right now, and I love it.
Nice. So I know you're an adjunct professor at UT, and I also knowing that you obviously went through college in Texas to receive a degree. What are you doing differently to engage with your students than maybe the education that you received?
Yeah, it's interesting. I actually don't have a bachelor's degree. I have the hours that match up to one, but I found that I wanted to learn certain subjects that were not a part of the program and the plan. And so I kind of went off and did my own learning.
Sounds about right. And never stopped from there.
So I love the program, the game design program that I'm a part of and get to be a part of with UT. I'm actually on their board now for that. And they do an amazing job of creating exactly what we were talking about, the game design as well as the storytelling and the art creative side. So I feel very fortunate to get to be a part of that program. That's why. And same with like FIT. I'm on their board for the Fashion Institute Technology, and I love what they're doing to merge technology and the fashion world and the art. Like, I just like when people if curriculum programs can be put together that is structured. It's obviously a structured program, but it's letting you think of things differently. Many times I think that the education system, in my experience, and maybe it's not everywhere, in my experience is where it has it and it's been built, but it's not adapting and changing as much as what we as CEOs and people that are hiring need in our companies. So I need people that don't always think of a pink eraser.
That's right. That's right. I'm glad you know what it does. Do you know how it works?
It could be a different color.
That's right. That's right. So we're coming up on time. Got a couple more questions for you. If you had a superhero power, what would it be?
Oh, teleporting.
Teleportation.
Yes, I could be in so many more places and so many fun conversations and get more in.
I love
that or
that.
freezing time. One of those two.
What was the second one?
Or freezing time. I don't know if that's a superpower, but I'd like.
Oh, like everybody just stops, and then you're kind of you just
done, and then
That's awesome. That's awesome. How do people get a hold of you?
Well, what do you mean? I mean, I'm pretty plugged in.
Yeah, well, no. So is there, is there a preferred method? Are there places where you want people to follow you as you continue to develop and either publish things or be a part of things in particular, or should they just go to the website?
Yeah, no, we've got a great website. I am trying to be more active on Twitter and LinkedIn, and I have an Instagram and Facebook. Like I'm out there kind of sharing the different things. We've got a fantastic. I love the social team that we've brought on at AA, and they're really helping me stay on top of that. I think one of the interesting things is you can be really good at some things and not the best, so you hire smarter people in those areas.
Amen to that.
Marketing's been amazing. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time today. This was fantastic. I'm very glad we got through all the questions because I knew there were a lot that I wanted to ask you, and we flew through it. So really appreciative of that. As thank you to Insperity for allowing us to make this work. And next up, keep a lookout for the next community spotlight. Make sure you give us a like and a follow, and keep up with all things media technology and the community that surrounds it, and the badass people that are doing great work inside of it. Thanks for being with us today, Amber. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.